All right. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar presented by GoDaddy Pro. Today, we're going to talk about leveraging WooCommerce to grow or start an e-learning website. Just to kind of provide a little context here, it's not a requirement that you currently have a WooCommerce site set up, but as we go through today, we are going to mostly come at the conversation from the perspective of having a WooCommerce site already set up and wanting to take that to the next level by adding an e-learning element to that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some extensions and strategies that you can use to do all of that and turn that into a hopefully sustainable business. I just want to mention that this is being recorded. So if you have to hop out or want to go back and rewatch a part of this, this will be posted back at the events.godaddy site where you registered for this one, and also on GoDaddy Pro's YouTube channel. I did mention it right before I hit record, but again, there is a Q&A tab in the chat. So we are going to have a Q&A session at the very end. If you have any questions, please do feel free to add Q&A to that tab at any time or in the chat. We'll keep an eye on the chat as well and do our best to answer any questions that are added there. So with that, I'll go ahead and get us started here. Hello and welcome. My name is Marcus Burnett. I'm on the WooCommerce care team at GoDaddy. I have a history of designing and developing websites, some of them e-learning, most of them WooCommerce. So that is a little bit of my background. You'll also, in addition to hosting some of these, find me in the WooCommerce communities on Slack and Facebook occasionally as well. What we're going to look at today is we're going to talk about some trends in the e-learning space, look at a few stats and why there might be why now might be the good time to go ahead and pull the trigger on setting up an e-learning site. We'll talk about kind of the fundamentals of setting up an e-learning site, what you need to have to get started, and we'll look at a couple of different learning management system extensions and platforms to build on top of your WooCommerce site. And then we'll go through a number of other extensions and strategies as well that just take that to the next level. And then, like I said before, at the very end, we'll have a bit of a Q&A time. So feel free to submit Q&A at any time in the Q&A tab in the chat. Our expert today, I keep saying we because I'm not by myself here. Joining me today is Nick McLaughlin, who is a technical account manager at GoDaddy, alongside the same team as I am. Nick, you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I should flag this for you. I just saw a couple people in the chat saying that they can't hear any audio. So we'll look into that, but I'll kind of carry on until told otherwise. I might have to reintroduce myself at some point. But yeah, my name's Nick. I'm on the care team here at GoDaddy. I've been working with, okay, looks like we've got mixed bag of can and can't hears. Yeah, I've been working with WooCommerce specifically for better part of like 7 or 8 years now, and have been with GoDaddy for just a little over 6 months actually, doing like support stuff. Before that was working for a small business building out their like e-commerce section on WooCommerce. So yeah. Also a bit of an avid e-learner myself, so I really come at this from the customer end of it, maybe a little bit more, but definitely have the exposure to helping folks out with building out e-learning sites.
Yeah, that's awesome. Same here. I didn't really mention any of it before, but I started, like I said, in an agency. I did a lot of design work, Photoshop and whatnot, and then moved over to development. And a fair amount of that, probably 80 to 90% of that was, self-taught learning online through different e-learning platforms and YouTube videos and everything else. So, yeah, that we will let's talk a little bit about why now. We have some stats here. I'll kind of go through them a little bit quickly because they're on screen and everyone should be able to see them, I hope. But for the market, we have they estimate the global market size to be about 337 billion within the next, I guess it's like 5 years now. And global corporate learning market size of about 50 billion in that same time frame, which is roughly 15 or 16%, which is still fairly large when you're looking at those numbers of 337 billion and 50 billion. That's huge. Learning management systems, or LMSs, will have the abbreviation LMS through a number of the slides here. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way here from the beginning. That stands for Learning Management System. These e-learning sites account for about 1/3 of the market share total. Moving on to the next column, the median sale price for an online course is about $76.50. That's a rough average across a number of different platforms, but that to me is great news for people setting up e-learning sites, because that $76.50, when you're doing e-learning things, for the most part, you've created your courses, you'd have to do that once, and then each student is paying that $76.50 over and over again. Of course, you'll create new courses and all of that, so it will take some more time and effort over time, but really to have that $76.50 over and over and over again for a course that you've already built is great news from the merchant side. There's a compound annual growth of the e-learning market is around just over 9%, and 98% of US corporations already incorporate e-learning or plan to, which is just an astronomically high number. And that's crazy, but it shows a bit about the potential of setting that up. And then of course the pandemic. 2020 was obviously like a year like no other, and online just grew. All the online things grew incredibly during that time. E-learning grew 36% just in 2020 alone. And massive open online course sites, they're called MOOCs, saw traffic jumps of 300% and up. These are things like Udemy or Skillshare that just have this open enrollment year-round for unlimited number of students. And this is for people that were wanting to grow in their positions, or even just picking up new skills, things that weren't necessarily right. We had a lot of time on our hands during 2020. A lot of us were home, working from home, being at home, confined to our homes, and a lot of people wanted to pick up hobbies and learn new skills and stuff. So that's enough jibber jabber for me for the moment. Nick, what do you have any takeaways for the opportunities here based on some of these numbers?
Yeah, I mean, the growth is huge. I was part of that MOOC 300% growth number myself this last year. Definitely picked up some new stuff that way, and yeah, I think like the opportunities both like to as a kind of, if you think of it as like a business to business or a direct to consumer, it's on both ends, right? Like you can be targeting individuals who are looking to pick up new skills and information, certifications, stuff like that. You can also be partnering with businesses to develop like their own internal LMSs and stuff like that. Those opportunities are there as well with the 98% of US corporations. I mean, that's massive. Yeah.
That's like almost everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you had to get pretty high up there for me to just say, yeah, everyone's doing it. 98% is pretty much there. Yeah, so the opportunity is definitely there for on all sorts of fronts. I think it's really cool to see how much growth is happening. It has happened in this last year, and then, like you said, is still going forward. We still have these massive projections over the next 5 years that this is going to continue to develop and mature. It's not something that's going to suddenly go away, we don't think. So,
yeah, that if I look at the numbers, right, that plan to, in parentheses there, is really covered by that 5 years, right? That's probably the time frame that we're looking at here within the next 5 years or so. The majority, like an overwhelming majority of corporations, are going to incorporate some kind of e-learning training or otherwise into into their processes, and that helps with employee retention, and obviously that makes everyone just better at their jobs and all of that as well. Again, not limited to corporations here in our talk, but that that probably extrapolates out to other things. People in general are most likely planning to take on a bit of e-learning as well over the next 5 years. Again, looking at those estimated numbers, that includes everyone, not just corporations.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about the big, like, kind of lasting changes that we're still seeing from the pandemic, it's a lot of like remote working and a lot of career changing and things like that. And those are all like folks that are looking for ways to learn things online, right? Yeah, absolutely. And those are great opportunities, but with those opportunities also comes some challenges. So we want to go ahead and mention some of them here. One of the biggest challenges will be differentiation. Already 128,000 plus sites in the US are using an LMS, and 284,000 worldwide, not including the Skillshare, Udemy type sites. So setting yourself out from the crowd will be something that you'll have to definitely look at when building these sites. Part of that includes marketing. Average marketing costs for e-learning courses is about 18 to 19% of revenue, which can be quite high, but we'll go through a couple of things later on that may be able to bring some of those numbers down for you. We look at engagement and retention. Self-paced learning market is on a gradual decline due to students not completing courses. Again, we have a couple of things that we'll touch on there to try and help make sure that students are encouraged to complete courses. And the completion numbers are considered a widespread issue. Although there are not a lot of studies, one study found the average completion rate is about 13%, which is relatively low. Before I get into the technology column, Nick, is there anything that you'd like to add on the challenges here? I mean, I think it's covered pretty well there, right? Like the main ones are, and I guess I'll just highlight like how these play into each other, right? Like because so much of your revenue is going to be going into marketing and getting people onto the site, and convincing them that you are the expert that they want to learn from when there's, so many options. Like because that's kind of your main challenge, then the engagement and retention becomes that much more important. Like once you've gotten somebody to make that step and sign up for an account with you or start taking a course on your site, like keeping them around becomes that much more valuable, because that's one customer that you can get more value out of without having to invest that marketing spend on upfront. So we'll be mentioning those two challenges a lot. They really frame a lot of the solutions that we're going to be talking about and why these things are important. Just highlighting that those interact a lot, and we'll be talking about those a lot today.
Yeah, we definitely have a couple of extensions that were made for addressing those issues specifically. But that engagement is going to be a big part of it, right? The returning customers, the ones that are going to come back and purchase more courses or complete courses and then be thrilled about having taken them and share that with other folks to bring them on. That's all like a big part of it. So we'll definitely go into some of the technology. The questions to ask here are: which LMS should you use, and what should you use to enhance your business in addition to your LMS? Again, we're going to go into these. These are the questions that we're here to answer. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to recommend 2 different LMSs to start here. There are a number of them. There's some really great ones out there outside of these, but these are the 2 that we've found work really well in combination with a lot of the other extensions that we're going to talk about here that are very flexible and versatile and can be extended and work very well with WooCommerce. So we're going to start with those. The first one, Nick, Sensei LMS. This is a learning management system software built to go with WordPress and WooCommerce for creating courses and quizzes. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about Sensei LMS and why someone would want to go with this particular plugin?
Yeah. So some of the points we have on there, Sensei is developed by Automatic. That's the same folks that develop WooCommerce. So it's obviously going to be very well integrated. It's going to be around for a while. It's going to be up to date and compatible with all of your sort of like default expectations from WooCommerce right out the gate. So that's really great. Other big thing I want to point out on the slide that we have there is that it's free. This is like really hard to overstate. We talked about up front a lot of the kind of setup costs that go into LMS. Marcus, I think you mentioned how, you know, the content creation at the beginning and getting your courses put together and getting that all on your site is such a huge part of the cost that's going into it. And being able to do that with a free platform to get as you're like building that up and starting to get things online is just huge. That's, again, it's really hard to over highlight that one. We should maybe make the font on that a little bigger or add like a zoom effect on it or something. It's pretty massive. Yeah, so Sensei is great though. It's got it's like I said, really well integrated with WooCommerce. Easy to get in and play around with. Again, free. And it's going to integrate pretty well with all the other things that you're doing on WooCommerce already. So if you already have a site, this is a real easy, like, I'm going to add this on to add some e-learning features to my site. Yeah, it's got add-ons that'll let you do a little bit more with it. But it's really a really solid starter for, I need to start figuring out how to get stuff online. Sensei is a good way to go.
Yeah, nice tease with the add-ons. We are going to get to a few of those in just a minute or two here. But yeah, I think that you know, like you said, that free price point is such a huge deal, because when you're getting into adding e-learning to your site, you don't necessarily know what you don't know yet. So as you're building these courses and figuring out how long it's going to take to generate content, maybe these courses have video content that need to go with them and you need to get that produced. You're setting up the quizzes, you're setting up the scoring systems and all of that. And that can take some time. And so having a free option that allows you to kind of take the pressure off of that time frame and be able to build those things up. If you already had a course you know, laid out, had all the content together, then you might want to look at the next one. But this free option is definitely a great way to get started, a low barrier to entry way to get started in building courses, I think.
Right.
Yeah, so with that, I'll segue into the other option that we're recommending today, which is LearnDash, which also creates courses and quizzes with WordPress. It does cost money, but is a more fully featured out of the box platform. Nick, do you want to tell us just a little bit more about that one?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like the main contrast difference there being that LearnDash is going to give you a lot more as far as building out a full LMS on your site, a full e-learning site, even if that's like if you're like your sole focus. It does integrate just as well with WooCommerce and a lot of the other extensions that we're going to be talking about today and stuff like that. Also has a lot of its own add-ons and things that we'll talk more about, but yeah, it'll give you a lot more structure around how you develop your courses, how you manage the learners on your site. Especially LearnDash has a lot more relative, especially to Sensei, has a lot more about or a lot more features built around managing folks who are learning on your site. As they're progressing. Trying to see, I've got a few notes on this one, but I feel like that's most of it. Just again to highlight, I guess, like that while it is more of like a standalone platform, it does integrate just as well with what you already have in WooCommerce and WordPress and your themes, and has like gateway integrations and stuff for making sales and things like that.
Yeah, a lot like I said at the beginning, we're kind of approaching this as from the standpoint of having a WooCommerce store and adding e-learning to that. But LearnDash, like you mentioned, does have like payment gateway support out of the box, and you know, a lot of other features that you can run LearnDash without WooCommerce at all if you really wanted to. We think that there are some advantages to using WooCommerce, and we're going to get to those in the extensions that we list below, or in the slides coming up. But you know, it's just this fully featured learning management system right out of the box that you can extend with dozens of extensions, but right off the bat, all you really need to do is install it and create courses, and really you're kind of ready to go already. I did want to mention while we're here, they do have a 30-day money back guarantee, I think. So if you're interested in LearnDash but aren't sure about that price yet, again, it's hard to overstate the freeness of Sensei LMS. But this is a great software as well, and you do have a 30-day money back guarantee if you want to give it a test drive before fully committing. And I will mention it again at the end, but LearnDash, the folks from LearnDash are hosting their own webinar on kind of more logistics and in detail on LearnDash as a platform next Wednesday. So make sure that you register for that as well. But first, let's move on to the next one here, which is WooCommerce memberships. WooCommerce memberships is built for WooCommerce, and it integrates with these to add some additional features to your site. Nick, why would somebody want to use WooCommerce memberships with Sensei or LearnDash?
Yeah, memberships itself is built fully around content restriction, essentially. It's really focused on controlling who can access what on your site. Obviously, that comes into play if you want to control access to certain courses and things like that. I believe both Sensei and LearnDash have some content restriction built in, where you can make sure that only folks who have paid for the course can access it and things like that. Memberships is going to be a lot more full featured in that, and allow you to even extend that to other parts of your site as well. So if you're adding this e-learning onto your WooCommerce site, and already have some other stuff that you'd like to kind of incorporate in that, so that folks who have paid for access to this course can also have access to this product catalog, or to these other maybe blog posts or something on your site, or other pages. Memberships is going to allow you to kind of tie all that together, so that you can control who can access what kind of across the site all in one place.
Yeah, I think that's a great note, that WooCommerce memberships is great for Sensei and for LearnDash, but it's built with WooCommerce in mind. So you can kind of leverage that as well. So if you have, students are signing up for a specific membership to get enrolled in courses, they get enrolled in a course, but now because of that membership, maybe they have the ability to purchase specific products that they wouldn't have necessarily otherwise been able to purchase on your site. Maybe it's notebooks and pens and stuff that go with the courses, or, a cheat sheet poster if it's keyboard shortcuts for a thing or whatever. There are lots of reasons why you might want to include some physical materials that you can let them purchase and send out, that maybe you only want students that have signed up for particular courses, for particular memberships, to have access to. Or maybe you want to give them a discount. That way, if they sign up for a membership for a course, then they get a discount, to the rest of your store or something like that. So it's very flexible, very versatile in the way that it can handle just kind of overall membership type needs within your site, and not just within the learning management systems themselves.
Right. Yeah. A couple other notes I wanted to touch on. We have them on the slide there. Content dripping is a big one. Being able to control when folks will get access to something based on when they started their membership. So say they sign up for a course, you could actually drip modules to them to control, okay, you're going to get this section of the course for immediately, and then 2 weeks later, roll out this next thing. That's going to be really huge for customer retention and engagement. Here we are, like I said, bringing back those challenge points that we mentioned at the top. That's such a huge thing, right? Being able to give folks new content that's coming through while they're progressing through your courses. It's also a good way to control what we call spaced learning, where folks aren't just cramming through everything immediately right at once, but are accessing stuff as it goes on and able to build up their knowledge and understanding over time. That's going to increase learning and retention rates just as a learning strategy as well. So that's something that drip content can help out with. And then also the Teams extension here is pretty major in being able to especially if you're looking in like a corporate learning situation where the company maybe wants to control all of the billing for all of their seats in from one payment, but can grant access to, however many folks they want to add on there that you allow. So that kind of lets you centralize that payment into one for multiple people, whereas otherwise it would just be kind of a one-to-one where each learner would have to kind of create their own membership account and be paying for that themselves.
Yep, 100%. And then just kind of a last thing that I want to touch on before we move on to the next one is just, as you see in the screenshot there, while we say that WooCommerce memberships is built for WooCommerce and works well with LearnDash and Sensei, within the last, I don't know, month and a half, like specific integration with Sensei and LearnDash has been added to also allow for auto-enrolling students into a course or multiple courses based on which membership that they purchase or are registered for at the site. So there's an even deeper integration there besides just memberships to WooCommerce with the ability to add some LearnDash stuff. That's all very tightly integrated.
Yep.
Yep. Next one is WooCommerce subscriptions. This is sort of taking WooCommerce and an LMS and memberships to the next level by adding subscriptions, recurring subscriptions more specifically. Nick, why would somebody need subscriptions on top of the rest of those?
Right. Yeah. Subscriptions is going to allow you to do the recurring billing, like you said. So this is how you're going to be able to charge every month, every year, whatever makes sense for your course and for your site. Memberships, like I said, is more focused on the content restriction, and then these LMSs are what allow you to kind of structure the courses and the quizzes and everything on your site. Subscriptions is going to get you that automated billing piece that is, again, super valuable when you have such a high cost to get customers on your site in the first place. So this allows you to keep that going. And when you combine that with memberships and things like content dripping and stuff, you're going to be able to really push the envelope on like retention and engagement, being those kind of two big challenges that we discussed. Yeah,
and sort of flipping that back to the opportunities, I just have some notes that I pulled from when I was doing some research for this. I saw that it said that the online subscription market has doubled in the last 5 years, and 3 out of 4 e-commerce businesses plan to add a subscription model within the next 3 years. So it's going to continue to grow. So the subscription model is it's already obviously a very big part of our lives. I have subscriptions to who knows how many things at this point. But it's something that there's an expectation for, right? There's a precedent set already for the subscription model. So folks signing up for something, especially something that they're interested in learning about, doing it on a subscription basis is not going to be foreign to anyone at this point, certainly not within the next couple of years. So I think that this is a great way to go ahead. It's obviously the business side, right? You want to make sure that you have folks coming back month after month or year after year and learning new content. Obviously, you have to provide valuable content during those. The content dripping is a huge part of that. So it all kind of ties together. Just trying to wrap it all up for us with a nice little bow.
Yeah. I'll touch on the bonus feature that we list there as well. Subscriptions will allow you to offer free trials. So you can do, I think you can even see it on the screenshot a little bit there. Yeah, there's a free trial period. This one's set to 14 days in the screenshot. So you can set what that trial period is, and then you can that'll grant folks access ahead of time. Free trials, we know basically how that works. That's something that you wouldn't get out of the box with like memberships or just an LMS in general. That subscriptions is a great way to allow people that like initial step in, again, reducing those barriers of entry, making customer acquisition and retention that much easier to get people in and going, and then you can build up their membership access from there. Yeah,
absolutely. So we're going to get into some other extensions to kind of take those to the next level as well. Before we do that, I just want to mention a couple of things from the chat. Mark was asking whether this is being recorded. I do want to just reiterate that this is being recorded and will be live in the next day or so, and an email will be sent out to the same email that you used to register for this today. So you can, be expecting that in your inboxes. And I also wanted to just continue to mention that we do have a Q&A tab in the chat. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to toss them in there as we go along. We do have a Q&A section at the end of this where we'll take a look through those as well. All right, let's get into the WooCommerce extensions. First, you teased it earlier, Nick, but the Sensei LMS extensions, I believe that this is the entirety of them, and some of them are free and some of them are paid. But what kind of things can you do with these extensions, Nick, to bolster Sensei to do some of the other things that someone might need it to do?
Yeah, exactly. So the Sensei extensions, and again, since we're only featuring the two like LMS programs, we'll be comparing a lot between those just to give an understanding of the contrast and why you might choose one or the other, or both at some point. Maybe we'll talk about that too. But the Sensei extensions relatively are a lot more focused on what you might say is like more core functionality. So you see things on there, like they do have some content dripping. Again, this would be only within the LMS itself, whereas like the content dripping from memberships, you could drip like other posts and things from other spots on your site. But it does have some of that built, or not built in, but as an extension, allowing folks to see like how many participants there are in a course, to more easily track their course progress. There is some like certification offering there as well with the certificates extension. It's not a very full library of extensions at this point, but it's going to help you do a little bit more, and hopefully help you like fine tune exactly like what you need your LMS to be doing for you.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to wait to the end, but yep, Audrey asked in the Q&A about certificates, and you mentioned them specifically here, so we can go ahead and just address this. Yes, both Sensei and LearnDash have the ability for you to have their add-ons, extensions to those. Actually, I believe that LearnDash's might be built in as well and not be an add-on for certificates. But yes, you can design your own certificates, and then you can issue those. And they do, I believe, have the option to export those as PDFs and all of that. So both platforms, Sensei LMS and LearnDash, do have the ability for you to provide certificates to students taking courses. Yeah, mark those as answered.
Thanks.
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, these are the only ones for Sensei. It is, again, an automatic product who makes WooCommerce and WordPress, so these aren't going anywhere. They may add more over time. I think in our experience, we haven't seen that many added over time. It's been a little bit slow going, but these are probably the core ones that you would want to just kind of boost your LMS to kind of that next level of things that you need it to do.
Right, and it's certainly customizable beyond that, just as a mention, that you're not 100% limited, right? Anything within WordPress or WooCommerce, we always say like, well, you could do it. So there's certainly other options beyond that. These are the ones that like somebody else has built for you, essentially. Yeah,
almost anything's possible. It's just a matter of how much development you want to do.
Exactly, yeah.
But you can get around some of that with LearnDash extensions. We have a screenshot here of, what is that, 12, but this is just a small handful of the ones that exist for LearnDash. Is there anything that you can tell us about these, Nick? What kind of things that LearnDash has to offer with their extensions?
Yeah, I mean, you can see premium extensions there. Some of those are going to be paid. Some of those are just you can just add them on kind of if it fits what you're looking for. LearnDash extensions, as you mentioned, like they have just a lot more of them, first of all. So there's a lot more to shop around and see what's possible. A lot more like customization that you could do to, again, like fine tuning exactly what it's going to do for your site. They have a broader extent. I'm trying to think if there were any Sensei extensions that focus on like third-party integration. So I don't know. I'm just going to throw. It seems like from what I've looked at, like maybe 40 or 50% of them are like really focused on that. On you've got something else going. So like on here we see there's the BuddyPress, BadgeOS integrations, GamerPress, which we'll talk about in a little bit. ConvertKit. So there's stuff like that. Or MailChimp is obviously a big one. You can integrate your LMS with these other features on your site. And then there's also a whole host of them, like I said, the other like 50 or 60% that is more about like customizing LearnDash itself. They have, I was just looking when I saw that certificate question, they have a certificate builder extension. So the certificates are built into LearnDash, but you can get some additional, like more easily customizable features there. So you can control a little more of how that looks like. And that's a free extension that you can add on. So it's stuff like that where you can, some of it will help you in the development side of things and like getting your content online quicker, or, you know, we have like the content cloner there. So once you have a course on, you can make a copy of it and modify it a little bit if you need to, things like that. Others will actually add like more like new features to your site. Those tend to be more of the premiums. So you've got like the grade book, visual customizer, things like that that are more like adding a full new feature to the LMS.
Yeah, I was actually impressed when looking through the list here, just how many of them are actually free. I mean, there are some that you have to pay for, of course, but especially ones that are, you know, either really robust feature or connecting to some, you know, more complex outside systems integrations with other platforms and stuff. But yeah, I was actually quite impressed with the number of them that are free that you can add. Yeah, and since you're already crushing it with the segues into integrating with other pieces and mentioning GamerPress, we're just going to move right on to the GamerPress slide because it's next. GamerPress adds a level of gamification to your Sensei, LearnDash, or I'm sure there are a few others that it'll connect to. Yeah, why would somebody want to? Well, first off, why would somebody want to use gamification for their site, and then how would GamerPress, you know, why would that be a good option for someone?
Yeah. So gamification concept, right, is you're granting points or achievements or badges so that your learners feel like have this like greater sense of accomplishment and can kind of see their progress as they go. Yeah, GamerPress allows you to do that in a way that's integrated with WooCommerce, with your LMS, both Sensei and LearnDash, like you mentioned. I think, yeah, we do have it on the slide. Yeah, gamification actually like will increase, has shown like in studies to increase retention in knowledge-based assessments. So it's not just like a motivation. That still blows my mind a little bit. Like, I'm more motivated to learn, but like it's actually helping me to learn and like retain that information better. Then again, like the big thing that's going to hit, and you can maybe guess what I'm going to say, is like our two big challenges of retention and acquisition. You can draw people in by like just like the draw of, I don't know, like we've all gotten addicted to a game on our phone that is totally meaningless and not actually contributing anything to our lives, but big number goes up and flashy lights, and that's all it takes. Like, so this is a way to like turn that to good, and like build those sorts of systems in that are really clearly motivating people to actually like point that towards learning and point that towards like skill expansion and knowledge expansion. Yeah. GamerPress is a great in and of itself as well. Like their integration is really solid. They have a list of their own extensions and features as well that we're not going to get too far into here, but yeah, just a really solid way to add some of those features to your site.
Yeah, the gamification works 100% for me. I have an app on my phone for learning a new language. I'm sure you've probably seen it. I won't mention it, but it has an owl logo, and it's got, you know, the points, and then it's letting me know, hey, you're going to lose your like daily streak if you don't jump on and, you know, do a section of, you know, quizzes or whatever today. So of course I'm jumping back in with that notification. I don't want to lose my streak. I want to, you know, get to the next level, open up this new, you know, unlock this new thing. So it definitely works. Yeah, and this is I don't know if you mentioned it, but GamerPress, while works great for Sensei and LearnDash, actually has actions and triggers that can be set that you can set up for your whole site, so people can gain points and ranks and achievements and all of that for purchasing a product or viewing certain pages on your website that aren't necessarily within the learning management system, or a number of other things. So it's also goes kind of out beyond the learning management system. You could narrow it down and just set up actions that are within, the LMS, but you can also broaden that out to other things. I assume, like, did you log in today? That's a point, that kind of stuff. So there it goes back to that, like, getting me back into the app. Did you log in today? You don't want to break your streak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then I think you mentioned to me that there's also a way that you can then extend that to, like, use those points for other things. When people earn points, you can use those to, allow folks to make purchases within WooCommerce or unlock other things within the site.
Right. Yeah, I think it's called. I'm looking at my notes. Their points gateway. That is, I think it's an extension for GamerPress. Again, like we said, everything kind of has layers and layers here. Classic, which is great. Like we love it. WooCommerce, WordPress modularity, big fan. But yeah, so there's always like bits that you can add on. But yeah, the points gateway. Sorry, that's what it's called. I got the word for points for a second. Don't know why. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's going to let you, like, you can control, like, the kind of, we call it, like, conversion rate of, like, points to actual spending power on your site. But yeah, it just kind of turns that motivation into something a little more tangible and a little more, like, real. I think, like, gamification is going to work, like I said, like, regardless of whether there's a monetary incentive, but it's always an extra place that you can go with it. That and especially in certain applications, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting how scalable this is and extendable with other things.
Yeah,
like you said, all for the modularity and extending things. Moving on to the next one here, hosting live classes. We don't have a specific extension here. This is more one of the strategies for being able to, have live classes on your site and stuff. Keeps learners engaged. Nick, do you want to tell us just a little bit more about maybe why somebody would want to have live classes?
Yeah. So live classes are kind of like a part of maybe a broader concept of what you can do with incorporating, like, cohorts into your learning. So I'm trying to think. So if you have, like, there's, like, the teams and groups extensions that we talked about that allow you to bring a group of folks in under, like, one billing. This would be a little bit different concept where you're more trying to move people through the course content together. And that's, again, focusing on, like, retention and engagement. One of the key, like, downfalls of e-learning relative to, like, in-person learning is that both, like, accountability and just, like, socialization of, like, learning alongside others. So something like live classes, and there's ways to do this with, like, controlling content dripping and limiting signups so that folks have to kind of all start the content at the same time and progress through it together. You can still kind of simulate and add some of those like real world classroom features in an e-learning environment. Obviously, live classes are, like, the most, like, the closest tie-in that you could possibly get, right? I think that's as close as we're going to get to a real-world class environment, because everybody's still in the same, like, virtual space, at least, which we've gotten very used to this year, and learning together and progressing through that together. Like you mentioned, there's not, like, a really solid, like, single solution here. Kind of depends on how you have it set up, and most likely is going to require a bit of a stack of a few different programs and integrations to get this working. So we have this listed there for both, like, LearnDash and Sensei for how you might accomplish that, with some additional extensions focusing on integrating to Zoom specifically. There's obviously other ways to do it. Those are the ones that the kind of closest ties to each of those LMSs that we've discussed. Obviously, you could set up an email platform that sends out a Zoom link, and you're still getting them into Zoom or into that live class space. But these are going to be a little more integrated into your WooCommerce site.
Yeah, like you mentioned, we're not going to get real deep into the logistics here because it is a little bit complex to set some of this up, but just strategy-wise, wanted to mention that hosting live classes is possible and is a good way to kind of bolster retention, keep people engaged kind of together in groups, like you said. And yeah, we'll move on to the next one. WooCommerce social login allows folks to log in with their social network of choice. You see a number of them listed in the screenshot there. Nick, how would social login help just make the experience better?
Right. Yeah. So we're talking about like customer retention or learner retention at this point, but also acquisition, right? Getting folks onto your site within like WooCommerce, WordPress. They're probably gonna have to make an account. Definitely, if you want to use memberships or subscriptions, they're going to need to have an account on your site to associate with either of those. So social login kind of just like lowers the barrier of entry for that process, makes it that much easier to create a new account on your site without having to memorize a new login. And I mean, right, like I'm a sucker for this stuff. Like this is like, I'm always like, whenever I get hit with a login page, I'm scrolling, I'm looking around for these buttons. Like, how can I do this without having to remember a new password? Or I finally got a password manager that's like supposed to help you with that, but I still am like really a sucker for being able to use social login. And it's not just me, right? We've got the stat there, 77% of customers prefer social login on e-commerce sites. So that's going to help you get people in the door once they've gotten to your site. If they get to the login page, right, or the account creation page, like your marketing has done a lot of work to get them there. So anything you can do to reduce the friction at that point so that you don't lose people at the account creation is great. Social login is going to help with that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think there's anything that I can add there, and we are starting to close in on our hour. So we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving along a little bit. Next one is WooCommerce Product Reviews Pro, which allows you to add real detailed reviews to your products. How might something like that be beneficial, Nick?
Yeah, I think we use the phrase on there, social proof. That's a big one, right? Again, we're talking about like differentiation in a saturated market. Social proof is a really like almost universal way at this point that when somebody's shopping online, you're looking for at least what the star review rating is and how many reviews you've got. Product Reviews Pro is going to let you expand on that setup a little bit more beyond just a star rating and a comment or something. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's helping you to differentiate your site and allow and kind of leverage your existing and past customers as a marketing tool to bring more folks in.
Yeah, so social proof is huge for me. I'm always reading the reviews. I specifically, this one has some filtering options as well, which is very helpful. Add some filtering and sorting to your reviews. I always filter for like the 1-star reviews. I want to see what the worst thing that could possibly be wrong with a product or course or something. And then I'll work my way through the other tiers and stuff. But I always filter straight to that 1-star review.
Great if you want to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of social proof, the next one is affiliate for WooCommerce, which allows you to have influencers or others promote your courses and then get a portion of commission or whatever for sending folks your way. How does that tie in, Nick? And why would somebody want that for their e-learning site?
Yeah, like you said, it's in the same vein as like the product reviews. This is a little more structured way to do it rather than just kind of open to the internet. But it's still kind of the same thing, I guess. At the end of the day, the main focus for both of those though is attacking that like high marketing spend number, right, and getting those marketing dollars to go further. Influencer marketing. is clearly like here to stay, is clearly something that like is proven to work. I don't know how else to say it. Like word of mouth is just super effective. We've got a number on there. Hey, 93% of people trust word of mouth advertising marketing. It's great. This is one of those things that gets me, like knowing all of this. I'm still like, when like somebody I follow on Instagram talks about something, I'm still like immediately jumping on that website to look at the product, right? Like, so it's allowing you to, the plugin itself is allowing you to integrate that into your WooCommerce site, so that you can control or track like the affiliate sales and set commissions and things like that on the back end. So that is handled, in a more or less automated way. It's like I said, like more integrated into the site and not something that you have to be chasing down loose contracts for somewhere else in your business, but letting you do that right there.
Yeah, that gets me too. Even when somebody that I follow online is like, "This is an ad," and then they talk about it, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care. I still trust you, and I want to go see what that thing is
Exactly.
and know more about it. So definitely works. We have a couple more here. The next one is cart add-ons, allowing you to show related products in a customer's cart. Nick, you want to tell us a little bit about cart add-ons and why you would want to do that, why you would want to use that?
Yeah. So the thing I like to point out about cart add-ons, WooCommerce has some like related products, is what they're called, in the actual admin. It's some cross-selling functionality built in natively, just with WooCommerce. The thing that's going to do though is put featured related products on the product page itself, whereas cart add-ons allows you to feature that on the cart page. Doesn't sound like a huge difference, but what's going on there is now your customer is like that next step further in your checkout funnel process. They're no longer considering like which thing should I get. They've already decided on something and they've locked that in, and now you can add like additional stuff on top of that. It's kind of a subtle difference, but again, if you're comparing those on the product page, that's like, should I get A or B? And then this is more like, I've already got A, and now I'm going to add these things on. So you're increasing like your per order revenue more with checkout add-ons, and making that a little bit easier for the customer or the learner in our case to manage. It definitely extends beyond the e-learning environment as well, like great for a WooCommerce site in general. But within e-learning specifically, if you have like course-related materials on your site, like Marcus had mentioned earlier, some things that you might want to restrict along with that membership plan to make sure that like only folks in the course can access the cheat sheet for it or something. You could also, if you don't want to restrict access to it, but you just want to like offer that as a suggested additional purchase at checkout, cart add-ons is a super good way to add that on, so it appears right there as soon as they've added the course to their checkout. You can hit them with like, oh, if you're signing up for this course, you're also going to want these other products that we have on our site.
Yep, beautifully said. And that relates, like we have the stat here, that just is a great way to upsell products, to add additional products to the cart that otherwise maybe would have been overlooked or wouldn't have been purchased. Mm-hmm. And that takes us to our last one, which is WooCommerce Google Analytics Pro, and that adds some advanced e-commerce analytics features. You may already have Google Analytics on your site, but this will add some advanced WooCommerce ones and help with like product purchases and stuff, especially through e-learning courses. Anything you want to add there, Nick, for maybe specifically for e-learning sites?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you mentioned that. This is one of those, we were talking about this in our rehearsal. This is one of those plugins that we feel like we're mentioning in every single, like no matter what the subject is, it's great. Because right, it's giving you the analytics and the data to make decisions about your site. E-learning in particular, you want to see where are students falling off, where are they getting to along the process. That's going to be a little involved to tease out with overall site analytics, but it's definitely something that you can see, like page views on this step of the course versus page views on this step of the course. Wow, a lot of people are dropping off or picking up or whatever. You can compare and contrast those pretty well, but you need that data. And so Google Analytics itself, and then this Google Analytics Pro, like WooCommerce extension, is going to let you like integrate that tracking system a little bit more into your shop, get those, like you said, the advanced e-commerce features. So then you can start sorting by sales, by product. You can see your checkout funnel and where during the checkout process people are falling off, and track like conversion rates between those. Yeah, I think those are the main ones.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we do have a few minutes left. This is that was the last one, but we can look at some questions and answers here. It looks like we had one come in pretty early on talking about LearnDash from Stephen. Says, considering the time necessary to create the course content, what would be the best option to lay out the structure? I know that LearnDash is $159 per year for one site. Yeah, Nick, what do you think about how someone might set that up?
Yeah. So some of that is why we really wanted to be sure to mention Sensei as an option as well, because getting around that $159 a year and allowing you to start to develop some of the content itself before you start like paying for the software fees on that is super beneficial. Obviously, you're going to want to do a check to see like how long am I going to be on the Sensei system and does it make sense? There will be some migration effort if you do later want to switch over to LearnDash. I don't want to get too far, I guess, into the details of that. It's really pretty specific per your use case and what sort of content you're moving around. But yeah, so you want to be able to weigh those options and see like how much do I want to invest into this free system before if I'm. But definitely, like I said, that's like the main reason we want to mention Sensei is that exactly that, like that time necessary to create the content up front is massive. So anything you can do to cut down costs there when you don't have the revenue from those courses coming in yet is a super, super helpful boost.
Yeah, for sure. And then like just things that I want to note too, again, LearnDash does have the 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you do happen to have the 159, you want to give it a try, you can download it, walk through, look at the different pieces, see what you need. If you're not quite ready to pull the trigger yet, having taken a look at what might be required with courses and lessons and quizzes and all of that, you can get your money back and then work towards that goal, right? And then you can purchase it again later. A couple other things, there are lots of LearnDash learning videos and stuff on YouTube. If you just want to see what is involved behind the scenes, there are definitely lots of YouTube videos out there. And then I'll mention it again in a moment, but next Wednesday, the folks from LearnDash are giving a presentation on LearnDash as well. So they'll walk through a lot more about what's going on behind the scenes inside of LearnDash than what we did here. And I think that would be a great thing to do as well. Let's see, we have a couple of minutes left. Lawrence says, do you have some GoDaddy WooCommerce entrepreneur success stories you can tell us?
Oh man, love that question.
I don't have any off the top of my mind.
I was like, I'm trying to think of something immediately.
Yeah, I was going to say probably the best place to find some of those are on the GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. There are a number of success story videos that have been posted there. It's youtube.com/GoDaddyPro, and there will be some there as well that you can see. And I think that would be a great place to check.
Yeah.
And with that, we are about at our hour, so I don't see any other questions either in the Q&A or the chat at the moment. So I will go ahead and wrap us up here. Yeah, thanks all for being here and for sticking with us for the hour. I know that throughout the course of the presentation, there were probably a lot of you that noticed the different varying amounts of costs for these plugins. There are a number of them that do cost, but there's good news. With GoDaddy's managed WordPress e-commerce hosting, many of those are included over more than 75 free and premium extensions, and that hosting also includes free SSL, free domain, and expert WooCommerce support that I can personally vouch for based on based on Nick and seeing his work. Great job, Nick.
This did turn into my personal review. Who knew?
Yes, that's right. Your performance review, you passed.
Yeah.
With flying colors. Excellent job. Yeah, go check that out. That's under $20 a month, and it's almost $6,000 worth of premium plugins included in that as well. So it is a great deal. Also, be sure to check out the GoDaddy events page. Again, the LearnDash folks are presenting on LearnDash next Wednesday. I believe same time, same place. So make sure that you go ahead and register there at events.godaddy.com for that one to see a bit more behind the scenes of what goes into building a LearnDash site. And there will be lots of other meetups and webinars as well that you should definitely register for. And you can also check all of these out on the GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. This has been recorded and will also be there. So thank you again for joining us. Thanks again, Nick, for lending your expertise.
Yeah.
And we'll see y'all on the next one.
Thanks all.